What's up, NBA fan? What's up, all sports fans? This your boy JB, host of the Behind the Bench Podcast Network and channel. Giving a shout out to the rest of the crew, for everyone who's tuning in today. Thank you for supporting Behind the Bench. Become a subscriber. Help make the show the best it could be. Let's get right to it, because there's no time to waste. There's no waste of time. And in NBA news, the saga continues. And I wasn't going to mention this, but look, at the end of the day, even when they are operating in neutral, find themselves in a constant state of mediocrity. Talking heads, sports shows, fans alike, the basketball world are going to talk about this team right here, the Los Angeles Lakers. And I figured, well, myself personally, as a lifelong fan of this team that goes back decades upon decades upon decades upon decades upon decades, I figured, well, heck, I can chime in too. You know what I'm saying? But my perspective is one that I never truly believed in this whole situation. I never believed in it. And it's because, and I hate to keep alluding to it, I know it sounds like a broken record, but when you see a franchise on the brink of finding themselves in a state of oblivion, I'm just surprised that. Let me put it this way. If you had prominent voices out there that would exercise objectivity and rationality and point out the dilemma this franchise is finding themselves with in the aftermath of what will transpire when all this is done, I'd be less prone to feel eager to talk about this the way I do, because I love all sports, man. Football, college football, baseball, doing the playoffs or whatnot, all sports, man, team sports, individual sports. But this franchise is in a very precarious state. It is in a very precarious state. And you can see, like, let me put it this way. If you take the focus off what a lot of people have been encouraged to concentrate on, is going all in, winning at all costs, and you look at this for what it is, you're not going to be thinking about them things because it's not happening anyway. That's the irony. The more they tell us to go all in, the less chance of this team actually winning by the time the season ends up in the month of June. And they tell us that it's about championship or bust. But I promise you, that's not how this franchise operated. It invested in the team. Investment was the foundation of which made this franchise great in the modern era since the ABA-NBA merger, when the late Dr. Jerry Buss purchased the franchise and helped create a situation where the Lakers won 10 championships over a period of 30 years, which is an average of 1 out of every 3 seasons. It's unprecedented. But it was never about going all in, throwing all chips in the middle of the table. That's not what made the franchise great. If anybody goes back, peel back the layers, study the franchise, study how Showtime was created, study how, how Kobe and Shaq was brought together. They didn't join forces. Kobe Bryant was 18 years old. 18. And believe me, Jerry West, when he sought to acquire Kobe Bryant during the 1996 NBA draft, a lot of executives thought Jerry West was, they thought, man, he was being irrational and he was heavily criticized. They was like, man, who would trade a veteran player like Vlade Divac, who was a solid center in the NBA? Good center. He was traded to Charlotte to acquire the draft rights for Kobe Bryant. They was like, man, what is he doing? Trading a player like that for an 18-year-old. But he wasn't thinking about that current moment. He was thinking what Kobe Bryant could become 4 years in the future. And he was right on the money. That's what made the Lakers great. Having a vision, seeing it through. Or any successful franchise or enterprise. So it gets me to this article here, man. And, according to Legion Hoops, there is a writer for The Athletic, and he gives his opinion or his outlook on what he thinks would happen if the Lakers fail to make a move at the deadline. And he goes on to say, quote unquote, I don't think LeBron and AD are going to be happy, and at that point they can ask out. I think that opens up the possibility for some bigger changes in the offseason. And see, what a lot of people not understand, and I get it, man, I get it. In the world of professional sports, the goal is to win. I get that. The goal is to win. No doubt about it. But you have to go about it a certain way. You have to adapt to what the situation calls for you to do to reach that goal. So what made the Lakers successful in the 80s in building Showtime, they had to adapt to what it was going to take to build a successful championship team in the 90s leading to the 2000s. You see what I'm saying? It's not about an era being better than the next era. It's about adapting to the situation that's been presented in front of you, right? So after Kobe and Shaq had their run, winning 3 championships back to back, Shaq, requested to be traded, and I love Shaq to this day. Hey, it's just how the history played out. He gets traded to Miami. We receive in return a player like Lamar Odom. And then we began to rebuild centered around Kobe Bean Bryant. And then that rebuild took 5 years. It didn't happen overnight. They was going to the first year, when you trade Shaq, a player like Shaq, you're going to take a hit. So you knew more than likely, and it wasn't a knock on Kobe, but it's like this wasn't about Kobe couldn't lead the team nowhere. It was just about when you lose a player like Shaq, you have to reset. You have to reset yourself. So we didn't make the playoffs that first year. And plus, we had Rudy Tomjanovich, who took over as head coach for Phil Jackson. Rudy Tomjanovich, in heart, is a Houston Rocket. That's who he played for in his career. That's who he coached in the mid-90s to back-to-back championships. So that was a temporary move that it didn't resonate. So he steps down due to health reasons, and then we bring back Phil Jackson, and we start that rebuild with Andrew Bynum, the youngest player ever drafted into the NBA. He was a couple of months younger than LeBron James was and Kobe Bryant, because all three were drafted, at the age of 18. But Bynum was the youngest player by 2 months, I think. Youngest player ever drafted into this league. And then we brought in, players like Jordan Foremore, Sasha Vujacic, Josh Powell. We still had Luke Walton, who was a carryover from the 03-04 season. And then Derek Fisher returned back to the Lakers at the start of the 2007-2008 season. And then we did acquire a player, Vladimir Romanovich, from the Seattle Supersonics to be our designated shooter. And then we reached the finals in year 4 after we acquired Paul Gasol in a midseason trade after Andrew Bynum suffered that first major injury to his knee. And then we completed the quest in year 5 and won the championship. And in that process, we never mortgaged anything away. What we traded to acquire Paul Gasol was not part of the foundation of the future. You see what I'm saying? And then they had a 5-year run. They went to the finals in '08, won the championship in 2009, repeat in 2010. We fell short of the three-peat in 2011, and then we lost in the second round to the Oklahoma City Thunder in 2012, who went on to represent the Western Conference in the finals, the OKC Thunder. So what I'm saying is, when you look back on it, man, the Lakers never threw all these chips in. They always had the leverage because they invested in the team. And even when we were winning the championships, particularly with Showtime, they was constantly drafting players. David Rivers, to be like a future point guard of the team as Magic, got older. Vlade Divac, after Kareem retired. Eldon Campbell. We kept it going, man. You see what I'm saying? This right here is a whole new animal. Lakers never operated like this. So what's going on now is everybody know that the franchise is in flux, but not identifying the true reason for it. So the easiest, most convenient explanation to cast blame is their front office. You hear it every day. And just last year, right, when they overhauled the roster a season and a half ago, brought back D'Angelo Russell, acquired Jared Vanderbilt, Malik Beasley from the Utah Jazz, Rui Hachimura from the Washington Wizards, Mo Bamba from the Orlando Magic, overhauled the whole roster, right? And then going into that offseason, they re-signed Austin Reeves, who was an undrafted player, but was scouted by the Lakers, and he's played tremendous for the team as an undrafted player. They re-signed. Oh yeah, Jared Vanderbilt. That's what I was thinking of. Jared Vanderbilt, also from the Utah Jazz. They re-signed Jared Vanderbilt for 4 years, $48 million. They re-signed D'Angelo Russell to a 2-year deal, where he can opt out in the second year. So he's currently playing on the final year of his 2-year deal this season. Then they signed Cam Reddish as a free agent. They signed who at the time was playing for the Portland Trail Blazers. They signed Jackson Hayes as a free agent from the New Orleans Pelicans. They signed Gabe Vincent from the Miami Heat. They signed Taurean Prince. I believe Taurean Prince from the Minnesota Timberwolves, I believe. They signed Christian Wood from the Dallas Mavericks. So they brought in, after the overhaul, then they brought in 5-6 more players. And then they signed Spencer Dinwiddie during the buyout period. And they waived Scottie Pippen Jr. They waived him to create the cap space to bring on Spencer Dinwiddie. And then when you look at what has transpired, Malik Beasley. That's who was it. Malik Beasley was part of that overhaul trade. He left and went to go sign with Milwaukee. And now he's playing, I believe, with the Detroit Pistons. Taurean Prince left after signing a 1-year deal. He's playing with the Milwaukee Bucks. Mo Bamba played like one half of basketball for the Lakers right after that trade went down. And he suffered like a foot injury, ankle injury, missed the rest of the season. Signed a 1-year deal to back up Joel Embiid in Philadelphia. Now he's backing up Ivica Zubac for the Clippers. He's playing well for the Clippers. Okay, so all them off-season moves, the talking head said the Lakers had the best off-season. They had the best free agency period. They're now the deepest roster in the league. They're the most versatile roster in the league. They found the solution at the center spot. They have the team now that can overtake Denver Nuggets in the Western Conference. And all that dissipated at the snap of a finger. And we're right back to square one. The team is not complete. They're not good enough. They're not talented enough. You got to make changes. You got to shake things up. You know, the Hurricane, he only got so much time to go. That's been the talking point. That's been the selling point every year since this all started, especially the year after the bubble. Oh, man, he's getting older. He'll be 36. He'll be 37. He'll be 38. He'll be 39. It's the constant same repetitive cycle for the past 4 years, going on 5 years now. And it's not going to change. And you look at the team's record now with the new head coach, J.J. Redick. And this really is not about J.J. Redick. Just as this was not about Darvin Ham. Just as this was not about Frank Vogel. Just as this was not about Lou Walton. So the team at the 26 games, the record now, they're like, what's their record now? Like 14-12, 13 and 11. I believe they're 13-11. So their record, no. They have to be 14-12. So after 26 games, they have a worse record at the same point in the season last year this year than they did last year. So the team is regressing, man. And there's so much pressure on this front office to mortgage the franchise away. After it's already mortgaged the franchise off, they mortgaged it away 5 years ago. And I don't see, in the proof of it, the team has not been able to clinch a legitimate playoff seed since the year of the bubble. And you see all these other teams springboarding their way up the top of the West. Then you have the Denver Nuggets, who won the championship and beat the Lakers to get there. They beat Phoenix Suns too, with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. So what I'm saying is, at some point, and I know it's difficult when you throw all the chips in, man. It's almost like you go for broke. And then when it don't happen that 1 year, or you try to prolong the effort, then your natural reaction is, okay, we got to continue doing it. We got to continue doing it. We got to continue doing it. And you're not getting the results. That's not how a legitimate championship team rolls. Like I said, it's hard to repeat, but you shouldn't fall off. The Spurs didn't repeat. In all them years with Tim Duncan, they didn't repeat, but they never fell off. You see? That's how you run. And this is what I wanted for the Lakers as a fan. All I am is just a fan. I'll just follow this situation the way I have, with great detail and passion, because I know what was given up. See, this is something that's never been seen before. And you don't hear nobody with prominence who have a major platform, that they're supposed to be experts in this field, that people rely on to formulate their opinion. They're not saying this. They want to throw out all the aspersions on the front office. But if any franchise, it don't matter who it is, if the Boston Celtics went this route, if the Spurs went this route, if any franchise, if an NFL team went this route, they're gonna be in the same position. The equivalent what the Lakers have been led to do, getting rid of 14 drafted players. That'd be the equivalent in overhauling the roster every year. That'd be the equivalent of an NFL team overhauling a 45-man roster. Just think about this. Think about this for 1 second. This is how extreme this situation is. There is only 2 players remaining from the team that won in the bubble. Only 2 players. 2. The Hurricane and Anthony Davis. That's beyond irrational. Showtime had that bomb, man. Showtime Lakers, Magic, Kareem Worthy, Byron Scott, AC Green, Jamal Wilkes, Norm Nixon, Kurt Rambis, Bob McAdoo, Mitch Kupchak. You know what I'm saying? Michael Cooper. They all have a bond, man. And every 10 years, man, they meet up and have a reunion like they did. I think last year they had probably like a 40-year reunion, something like that. I think they met up in Hawaii and they had a reunion and kind of reenacted famous moments during that championship run, man. They got a bond, man. Kobe and Shaq going down in history. Kobe and Shaq and D. Fisher, Robert. Like when you think about the Lake Show, you think about Kobe, Shaq, Fisher, Ori, Fox. You think about them core players, man, because they went through something. They went through the fire, man. All them battles, man. Think about it, man. Think about this. Man, 10 years from now, let's say 5 years from now, at the end of the decade, man, most fans are they're not gonna really remember who was on that team that won in the bubble, man. They're not gonna remember half them guys. They're not gonna remember half of them, man. You're not gonna remember Jared Dudley on the team or Marquise Morris, man. More than likely, you won't even remember Danny Green. You're not gonna remember them guys, man. You gonna have to really open up the book to remind yourself, or, pull it up online or something. And every team they've had, you're not gonna really remember that Montrezl Harrell was on this team. You're not gonna really remember Carmelo Anthony played 1 year for the team. You almost forget that he was on the team. You're not gonna remember Wayne Ellington was on the team or DeAndre Jordan was on the team. That's what I'm saying, man. You got 2 players remaining from that team in 2020, and it's these 2 players that's in this photo here from this tweet by this writer for The Athletic. His name is Jovan Buha. This ain't normal, man. This ain't normal. And people want to know why this team is struggling. Well, first of all, they ain't got no identity. That's the beautiful part. That's why I said the young core, man. Like I said, whenever I get pushback, talking about them, my thing is, I never said they was the end all be all. I said they was the foundation for the future. And if you invest that much time bringing them forth through the draft, and not one player was a bust. What I mean by a bust, man, I'm talking about like, man, he don't even belong in the league, dog. Remember what they said about Ivica Zubac? You remember what was said about him? Oh, he's a bum. He's no good. Man, the dude got footwork, man. I saw his workout video. And just last night, when the Clippers faced the Utah Jazz, Ivica Zubac in 26 minutes, he scored 19 points on like 8 for 11 shooting. And he's still not getting enough shot attempts. 19 points, 12 rebounds. He's leading the league in total rebound. He outplayed Walker Kessler, the center for the Jazz, who reports that the Lakers are trying to trade for. Been trying to trade for since this past offseason. So what I'm saying, man, what I'm trying to say is, when I think of Brandon Ingram, I don't just think of Brandon Ingram. I think of everybody. I think of Julius Randle. When Julius Randle pop up in my head, or when I watch him play, I'm thinking Ingram. I'm thinking Lonzo. I'm thinking Kuz. I'm thinking Zubac. I'm thinking Josh Hart. It triggers something because they have even though they're not playing for the team, they still have a stronger connection because they was drafted to be part of the future. So once you build a foundation, then, if you need to determine that you need to upgrade and improve a certain situation, well, you would have given them enough time to know exactly what you need to improve the team. When you go this route, when you operate in reverse, and then when things don't work out, man, you're confused, like, man, we need this. Then when that don't work out, we actually need this. It's like a dog chasing his own tail, and it'll never catch up to it. So what I'm trying to say is, man, I've always felt the nature of how all this went down and how AD was brought to this team when LeBron James, and I've been on the real tip here, when he go, more than likely AD's gonna go. That's the way this thing is set up, man, because I don't think Anthony Davis, the way he was brought to the team, in his mind, I don't think it's a thing where that a motivation for requesting a trade was to one day be the leading player of the franchise once LeBron is no longer on the team. I don't think it's set up like that. That's my feeling, because think about it. There's only 2 players left from 2020, and that's these 2 guys right here. So what I'm getting at is, man, now people starting to see, man, that okay, what do you do? Because you can't do both. You can't ask Rob Pelinka to say, well, go for broke, go all in, but build for the future at the same time. No, man, that's impossible. That's unfair to demand that of that man. He can't do that. And so what's really happening is, man, it's like the team is operating in a vacuum while the league is getting better. What I mean by getting better, these young squads, they got that playoff experience now. You see what I'm saying? So let's say the Lakers trade away the last 2 draft picks that are tradable. That are tradable in 29 and 31. You trade them 2 draft picks away to try to improve this roster this year from something at the expense of which you could have 5 and 7 years down the road. Well, what do fans think is going to be available 5 and 7 years down the road? Because at that point, you're going to be at the bottom anyway. You're going to be near the bottom. So that's what you have a draft pick for. You may miss out on a chance to draft the next dominating figure of the NBA. You never know. That's why you can't mortgage the future off, especially to this extent, because you selling yourself short. Not just for now, but down the road. Like I said, when we start that rebuild after Shaquille O'Neal, requested to be traded, like I said, man, I love Shaq. That's just how it all played out in the end. But that rebuild took 5 years. They didn't mortgage everything off to try to win right now. You know what I'm saying? And I think initially Kobe Bryant, who won 3 championships, I could see him being frustrated in the beginning because he was used to winning championships. But I think once he saw what the actual plan was, and then young players started to emerge at the same time, he said, okay, man, here we go. We're going somewhere. And then, that was the year where he finally won his first league MVP, which he definitely, Kobe Bryant should have been given at least 4 league MVPs. But nonetheless, he started seeing what the plan was, man. And then he rallied the young players around him, man, to help reach championship level. Especially after, once we acquired Paul Gasol, which was the final piece to the puzzle. And they had a 5-year run where they was at the back-to-back, going for a 3-peat, still in contention. That's what you call a real run. That's not what this is, man. So it's almost like the Lakers are being encouraged to move on from these 2 players, so they won't be associated with the collapse of the team, because they want to pin everything on the front office. And this is why, as a fan, man, like I said, I'm just a fan, man. I'm just passionate about it. This is why I didn't want no part of this, man, because I knew how it was all going to end up and how much the Lakers were going to sell themselves short for one season. But everything right on schedule. I just wanted to drop this nugget. Until next time, this is JB for BTB, Behind the Bench.